Sunrise at Rio Gallegos. We are now in the sparsely populated area just north of the Magellan Straits. There's not much here except for an airport, a rundown town and a small port, hence the railway. We wanted to see the departure but the train left early, so we followed it for a while. A gaucho. I wonder where he came from or where he's going. Steam is the most economical method of operation due to abundant supplies of coal from the Rio Turbio mines to the west. Having overtaken the train again, the drizzle turns to a downpour as the train creeps nearer. A stop is made for water in this isolated location. We leave the railway here and head on unmade roads to the northwest, back towards the Andes. This bleak area is where Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid came to farm after they'd committed many bank robberies in the north. As we approach Calafate and our hotel for the next few nights, the weather improves.
Lying just 40 kilometers west of Buenos Aires, one of Latin America's most vibrant capitals, the town of 20 de Junio is like a scene from another place, another time. Once a bustling commuter town built either side of the General Belgrano railroad, today, the village of just over 500 residents is home to desolate streets, abandoned buildings and a forlorn community.
Yo me mudé de Buenos Aires de acá a 20 de junio en la época que el tren andaba perfectamente. Y como éramos chicos, poníamos las manilas en los tambores del tren lechero.
In the latter years of the 20th century, when the Argentine government sold off most of its railway holdings, 20 de Junio was one of many abandoned communities that near withered, along with the railways that braced them. The disappearance of the train left a dirt track as 20 de Junio's sole link to the outside world. 5 years ago, when washed out by rain, a local farmer got the idea of using a makeshift railway car on the redundant tracks. Some former train workers picked up on the plan, and the Amigos of Belgrano Railway was born. Today, Carlos and over 50 other volunteers have restored over 150 kilometres of broken down rusty railway.
Estamos manteniendo y preservando todo lo que nosotros podemos, pintando estaciones, hemos puesto más de 1 kilómetro de vía, esto debido a que se han producido robos después del abandono.
80 years ago, when Argentina was one of the top 10 economies in the world, its rail network was one of the world's largest. But through the policies of successive governments, the infrastructure diminished. At the start of the 1990s, with the railroads losing close to $1 billion per year, the administration of then President Carlos Menem sold off the majority of train routes.
El ferrocarril fue el que colonizó todo el país. Ahora viajar de acá a Buenos Aires es una tortura. No sé en qué cabeza se ocurrió suprimir esto sin haber hecho rutas lo suficiente como para poder reemplazarlo. Esto despobló el país completamente.
The closure of over 10,000 kilometres of branch lines resulted in a process of migration to the city, leaving overgrown tracks buried under the earth and banked by cracked walls. It's an image that repeats itself in about 360 villages in the province of Buenos Aires, and an estimated 600 towns throughout Argentina are in risk of total abandon. Weitweejen is a researcher from the Sociology Department at the University of Buenos Aires. He recently headed up a study on the effects of the train's disappearance.
Tren que para, que hace huelga, tren que se cierra, ¿no? Esa fue la frase y efectivamente fue así. Todos los lugares donde hubo protestas o donde no era económicamente viable fueron cerrados y abandonadas las vías. Eso generó un proceso en los pueblos más pequeños de las provincias, un proceso de crisis económica y social muy fuerte, donde había algunos pueblos que tenían una identidad cultural muy cercana, muy arraigada en torno al ferrocarril, digamos. Realmente están casi abandonados, donde por ahí quedan 6, 7 familias y un montón de casas vacías, la estación derruida, y esos pueblos son pueblos casi fantasmas que están en proceso de desaparición.
The Amigos have now been given the government's permission to work on the deserted track, which is still owned by the state. They're also hoping their efforts can build steam behind similar movements throughout the country.
No perdemos la esperanza de que se empiecen a reactivar. De hecho, este es el único gobierno desde mucho tiempo atrás que ha empleado y le ha destinado mucho dinero a los ferrocarriles.
With their conviction that the train service provides an important social link to towns throughout the country, the Amigos of Belgrano Railway are sure they're on the right track.
Se tiene que volver al tren porque es el mejor medio de transporte que hay, más económico, menos contaminante y bueno, hoy las rutas están abarrotadas de camiones, autos y bueno, eso no pasaba antes.
Hoping to regain the splendor of times gone by, the Amigos of Belgrano are just one example of the type of local efforts by small communities that have come together to not be wiped out.
Conocimos a gente de Plomer que también estaban haciendo lo mismo. En Mercedes había otro grupo, en Espora, en Goín y todos están esperando que eso suceda, ¿no? Que vuelva el tren.